right, we're trying something risky tonight. Wish me luck.
Even outside, it's packed.
Cash. Green, I mean green cash.
Hit that like. Come on now.
Yeah, no, she's crazy. She is totally nuts.
Don't touch my hands because they're dirty.
He can do things with his tongue you wouldn't believe it. Purge the anti-Semitism and pro-terrorism. What you doing? PP2.
Lumpy pillows kiss my ass.
De-engineering.
We have to slam it.
Close. Come on now. Think. Somebody should check. Are we on Instagram? We're working. Can't know. You don't know. How can you know? Best advice Trump ever gave somebody.
Don't touch my hands because they're dirty.
No, I'm kidding. We're firing on all cylinders. We're flying. What we gotta do? What you do? What you gotta do? What you gonna do? All right, we're getting there. What you do? Let's see. All right, hopefully, these buttons work. Hey, look at that. Ah, it's exciting. I just got to tell you. Hey, welcome to the show. How you doing? Like, subscribe, all that stuff that I'm supposed to say that I never say, that I always forget. Patreon.com/HALSparks, Venmo. I don't know. Come up and rub my shoulders when you see me. Any way you can support the show. Just so much. The power went out last night at the house, and I gotta say, it was like being back in Kentucky. There was no light, there was no nothing, and it was actually kind of, I gotta say, I went to bed relatively early last night because there was no power, and I slept probably heavier and happier than I have in a long time. I swear to God, I have to start camping again. I just gotta because I was like, wow, the complete and total darkness is really nice. And anyways, when I started the show this morning, everything's sort of fine. And then it crashed in the middle because God knows what, my poor computer was, it's like basically the power going on and off. It flickered on and off. It didn't just all go out at once. It went off and then it went back on. Nope. Like that. It was very, very surreal. Anyways, the computer did not react well to that. So I'm on a completely different piece of software, hoping that it won't completely, I don't know, let's just hope we get through a whole show. I'm just trying, that's all I care about. But while you're at it, while you're here, all that stuff, please give a like right away, right out of the gate. Helps us out immensely. But you see me, but you don't hear me? Oh, God. Kid, don't mess with me. I don't know how anything works. All right, let's see if and I had to make whole new buttons right now. So there they are. Hey, it's the chat room. Oh, that's not good. In my little version of things. Hold on, that's the chat window. There you go. There you go. I have to move it up in the, there you go. So now forgot to reshape the window for the people on Instagram and stuff, and it's all cattywampus. You guys can't tell on the regular show, but it would look like crap. So that's a little better. And there you are. Hi, guys. Hey, welcome to the show. What's going on? Good to see you. You've been debanked? Oh, no. Yes, that's what we're here to protect you against. I'm trying to protect you against being debunked. No, I'm debanking. We'll see. Okay, Facebook is good. Facebook Live. And by the way, I got to say, there has been an odd number of post-show trolls. And I don't know, maybe they're here during the show and I don't notice, and because, you guys know, the chat room, like it freezes in your window, but if I do like that, it's like it all catches up and you're like, holy hell. Hello, hi, hey, everybody say hi. Where you, what's your favorite site? What are you doing? How's it going? What are you having to eat? Are you having a beverage? Tell me about it. Say hi. Yeah, throw a little something in there to let us know you're there. But in that process, maybe the maggots are here during the show, and if they are, welcome. The greatest gift you can ever give anyone, your time, especially considering when it comes to time, folks, no refunds. And but after the show, interestingly enough, like I'll come back, and sometimes my computer will still be running after I've shut down the software or whatever. My little chat window that I have open is in a separate monitor, so it'll just be sitting open or whatever. And some folks, I guess the chat, there's just like a glitch on Facebook that if you keep like if they're watching it later, it still shows up in the regular chat in that app. It's even if you're not live. And so there's a lot of them coming in like after the show is over. And because they're watching the whole thing through, it seems, from the beginning, they're referencing stuff from the beginning of the show or conversational pieces from the middle of the show at the very, very end after everyone's gone home. Right? Like after the credits in Ferris Bueller. And they're like, whatever, that's not even true. And you're like, okay, dude, look, everybody went home. No one knows. You're complaining about the third song the DJ played, and you're just, because you can't dance. And that's not their fault. Hello from Australia. How are you? So, hello. There you are. Anyways, it's just sushi. All right. That sounds good. So anyways, I just find that really fascinating that there's this group of people that after the show is well over and you and I have gone our separate ways are just like randomly, just to no one. And it's in the chat, but it doesn't really, because there's not a lot of people around, it doesn't really show up. We don't know. I don't go back through the chat after unless something specific happened and it's just so random. So that's a little addendum to our circumstance we're in now. Let's see if the other window works. Come on, man. Oh, there it is. It works. Okay. You'll recognize this guy. Joe was talking about they had mayors from all over the place, Republican and Democratic mayors, independent mayors, I suppose, too, came down to the White House. And I watched a good portion of this earlier today, and it was pretty charming and great. And but I want to see if I can find. I didn't make notes. I should have on the timing of it. But there's one moment where he digs on Trump, and I'll see if I can find it here.
Steve, we're good to see you. Mitch Landrieu.
Oh, this is the part. By the way, this is the part where he just knows people's names.
Marty Walsh. Secretary Buttigieg.
Oh yeah. And it's his birthday.
Pete turned 30 today. We got my wife is going to ship. She has a tradition in her family: 5 girls and 5 sisters, and everybody's birthday you got to sing happy birthday. So stand up and let's sing happy birthday. Happy birthday.
So they sing happy birthday
to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Pete. Happy birthday to you.
So, okay, really nice. Just whatever. Just embarrassing Pete Buttigieg. Now, listen to this anecdote about the 5 sisters, because I fucking love this.
And those of you who know my wife know I'm not kidding. By the way, I tell every young man who's telling me, I'm thinking of getting married or something. I said, look, you have any advice? They said, yeah, pick a family with 5 sisters or more. And they look at me, what the hell is that all about? I said, it's really simple. That way one of them always loves you, not the same one. You always have somebody on your side. I want to thank Tom Perez.
It's like, if you have 5 sisters, one of them will always love you. It's like, you'll always have somebody on your side, which I like. That's old man advice, man. That is, I gotta say, that's like, that is some porch advice. So great.
For being the point person for so long. Where are you, Tom? There you are. Stand up, Tom.
Notice it didn't take him any time at all to find who he was talking about, and he didn't look the opposite way while everyone else was looking that way or whatever. Just kind of normal shit. I just love the fact that he's prattling off people's names because he's worked with people, and Trump is going, chairman, football player, like it just recognize cowboy, brick suit dude, like he just recognizes people by their hat or an article of clothing, right? Whereas Biden just prattling off these dudes' names. Now I'm going to see if I can find the point where he's talking about they back away from this other piece. Let's see.
Protect against extreme heat and so much more.
Okay, he's talking about environmental stuff.
Everything moves when that's happening. When people have money to spend. And it's clean, I might add. It's clean. And when folks see shovels in the ground and people going to work in these projects, they can feel a sense of pride again. Think what we did. Most of the I come from the corporate capital of the world. Not a joke, Delaware. More corporations incorporated in Delaware than every other state in the union combined.
Yeah, by the way, I don't know if I've brought this up before when they talk about the shell company idea or whatever. Like, that's, like, Delaware's a thing. Like, you get a corporation when you're fucking born in Delaware. Like, they incorporate their kids right out of the gate because of the tax breaks on it and all kinds of shit. But that's one of the things. Like, I'm shocked the Biden family, they don't have 5 apiece. Like, this is the state, I mean, they should have the legal Zoom logo on their fucking license plates.
And guess what? A lot of those corporations, they're not bad people. They decided, let's go with the cheapest labor in the world. So they sent the jobs overseas, shut down the factories at home, sent the jobs overseas, and then imported the product. Not anymore. We're sending product overseas and we're importing the jobs. Pride in hometown. I really mean it. Think about it. Think about it. What happens if you build up your pride in America? Pride in home. People have pride when things start coming back. Pride knowing you can get big things done when you work together. Look, folks, we know pride also means feeling safe in your neighborhoods. The fact that we've made enormous progress preventing and reducing crime through the American Rescue Plan. We've made one of the biggest investments in local public safety ever, over $15 billion. And much of it's gone directly to you to hire for your departments. You've done a tremendous job.
So he's talking, this is talking to mayors. I should have fucking set aside that moment where he's talking about.
Can't go anywhere without people knowing what you're doing.
This is fun. So back this up. He's talking about how he took a job in, he's like, he was so glad to go to Washington because when you're a local politician, everybody thinks you can fix everything right away and they know where you live. This is like the problem that mayors bitch about.
I only ran for the Senate because serving locally was too hard. They know where you live and they think you can solve problems that are beyond your authority. And believe me, all kidding aside, you have enormous respect I have enormous respect for the jobs you do. I really mean it. You can't go anywhere without people knowing what you're doing. They know where you live, and they think you can solve every problem. And no, I'm serious. The fact is you're answering key questions people ask every day. Is my neighborhood safe? Is it going to be okay? Will this bus get me to work on time? My kids, they're going to have a good future in this town? Am I able to stay in my hometown? It matters. It matters what you do.
Right. So he's talking about the idea is he's going to he's talking. This is a bipartisan group, Republican and Democratic mayors, and he's literally just making jokes with them and talking about this shit or whatever. But the idea is this is just a meeting that he had. Fuck, when was this? Today, right? Stream live 2 hours ago. This is 2 hours ago. I gotta find this fucking place where he talks about the fucking infrastructure. After I gotta do. Because it's. Hold on. Oh, wait.
Tell them. And by the way, as many in blue states as red states, you know? Red states is blue, for real.
He's talking about infrastructure projects.
And here's the deal. I know.
And somebody's mentioned basically Trump. This is the idea. It's like infrastructure week, you know, that it was always infrastructure week under Trump.
Tell the former president I'm busy right now. Look, but I always say some of the most ardent critics of me are announcing these great programs. And I say I have one comment. See you at the groundbreaking. Look, I've kept...
So, yeah, the idea like Trump wants to... The earlier part of the conversation where he was talking about it, it's just basically that, like, Trump wants to, like, call him out or something. He's, like, busy passing the infrastructure bill is what the joke was earlier. And he's like, I know. He kind of revisited it at a point. And it just became a callback through the entire speech. Was this kind of like, it was like this running gag where he's like, every time he's like, you know, I'd love to talk to him about his ideas for this kind of stuff, but I'm busy passing the infrastructure bill. We're busy rescuing the economy. We're busy keeping the unemployment low, shit like that. And that was kind of the big main gag of it. He's like, here's the deal. I know. Okay. All right. Yeah. That was what he was talking about. So anyways, it was hilarious. Solid speech. Meets everybody, goes out, gives a speech, walks around, shakes hands afterwards. And knows fucking everybody, just for the record. Like, he's, at the end of this fucking thing, he just says, hold on, he says, he finishes his remarks, and then after they're done, hold on, let's see if I can show hold on, let me see if he says.
The dangerous part of up here is that it's hard to know what room you're in because all of them are identified by color. The red room, the blue room, the green room. It's not, but all kidding aside, welcome to the White House. This is your house. And I was getting in the elevator to come up, and my introducer, where is she? There she is. I said, every time that I hear Hail the Chief, I wonder, where the hell is he?
They're playing your song.
That's right.
Yeah, that's the lady said they're playing your song, and he makes this joke every time. Thank you for everything. Right. So apparently this is a running gag he does with guests at the White House, is that anybody who's standing there, especially the person who's walking with him, whenever he walks somebody in, if they're a vet or if they're a disabled person or minority business leader or whatever, like these groups that he tries to bring focus to, the whole like apparently it's this running gag with him where they start playing the song and he starts looking around and he goes, where is he? Oh, it's me, right? Like that, like it's this kind of running gag. It's hilarious. Oh, and hey, I don't know if you know this.
Distinguished guests, please remain in your seats while the president departs.
Like you to notice the light of the train. Okay, whatever. So you need to notice how is that Karen Bass? Yeah, I think so. I could barely see her in there, but I think so. And of course that's Tim Conway. I'm kidding. You notice the difference between him when he finishes a speech and Trump, especially these kind of things. He walks around, he talks to people he doesn't know. Like, she's clearly not somebody that he knows, directly, or he's, these are mayors from all over the place. But he just kind of chit-chats with everybody. And then there's like 10 people he fucking knows personally. And then they get, he gets very senatorial and starts just kind of on these long-winded stories. And they start having to yank him away because they're like, you got shit to do, buddy. Yeah. And it's just music on these parts. This is like, I mean, seriously, these are like genuine conversations. Having that Secret Service dude is super serious. Like, I don't know. I don't trust the Midwestern mayors. What the fuck? Anybody? I got an eye on anybody with the word "vil" attached to their town. You know what I'm saying? Sounds commie to me or some shit. I don't know. So yeah. So it's just a huge difference. It's like walking in and like saying hi to people and all that stuff. Meanwhile, remember this video? This is Trump. I think this came out like maybe almost a year ago now. This is him pleading the fifth. Remember this business?
Is the truth,
Hold on.
the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you.
I once asked, if you're innocent, why are you taking the Fifth Amendment? I was asking that question. Now I know the answer to that question.
By the way, real quick. He wasn't asking if you're innocent, why take the Fifth Amendment. He said the mob takes the Fifth Amendment. If you take the Fifth, you're guilty. He didn't ask. It's like it's like Tucker Carlson and his bullshit. Like, we're just asking questions. You are not. You're making statements. And you're backing your statements up with bullshit. And just because you rise on the last word of a sentence doesn't make it a question. You fucking weirdo.
When your family, your company, and all the people in your orbit have become the targets of an unfounded, politically motivated witch hunt supported by lawyers, prosecutors, and even the fake news media, you really have no choice. Anyone in my position not taking the Fifth Amendment would be a fool.
Okay, by the way, so just for those following along at home, apparently Ivanka and Don Jr. aren't fools, but he and Eric are. Because, yeah. And I'm pretty sure Eric and Don were both equal vice presidents and ran, the company while he was president. And so they kind of took it over. So they had equal spots on there, and one of them took the fifth and the other one didn't.
Absolute fool. Accordingly, under the advice of my counsel and for all of the above reasons, I respectfully decline to answer the questions under the rights and privileges afforded to every citizen under the United States Constitution.
What Constitution? I thought, and by the way, didn't Biden shred it? Isn't there a two-tier justice? What's the fucking difference? Dude, we have a two-tier justice system. You don't have a chance. You're being railroaded. Pleading the fifth won't do shit. Well, at this point, you might as well just get it off your chest. You might as well just say it. Why the ever-loving fuck would you hide anything? Now, I mean, you're fucked anyways. You might as well go, come get me, kappa, right? Why take the rights afforded to you under a document that, according to you, the current president is wiping his ass with it?
This will be my answer to any further questions.
So the 2020 Statement of Financial Condition contained false and misleading valuations and statements. Is that correct?
Same answer.
You knew at the time it was finalized that the 2020 Statement of Financial Condition contained false and misleading statements. Is that correct?
Same answer.
In preparing the 2020 Statement of Financial Condition, Alan Weisselberg, Jeff McConney, and others worked at your direction and followed your instructions to inflate asset valuations on the Statement of Financial Condition by employing false or misleading assumptions. Is that correct?
Same answer.
Okay. Real quick. First of all, this fuckhead thinks he has total immunity. I'm just revisiting this for a couple points. His argument that you have total immunity while you're president to do fucking anything, and that everything you do is in the line of duty. So even if you fuck around with your business and do all kinds of shit, it's just so that you can avoid being attacked by our enemies or something. I don't know, whatever. Anyways, point being is, if you'll notice, this is about the preparation of his 2020 Statement of Financial, whatever it's called.
False and misleading statements. So the 2020 Statement of Financial Condition contained false and misleading value.
First of all, 2020, why the fuck are you involved in it at all? I mean, it doesn't seem like, I mean, obviously, if he's pleading the fifth in this regard, is it so that He doesn't admit that he violated the emoluments clause. Anyways, so this is from his deposition. Now, real quick, in relation to this, if I may, this is Trump's most recent Fox interview. Now, I suppose, I didn't make a button for this, and I absolutely should. Ladies and gentlemen, I must warn you before we go any further, and I shouldn't spring this on you. It's just rude of me. Giving yourself time to prepare emotionally, physically, psychosexually, whatever you have to do. Whatever you do, what you doing? Right?
He can do things with his tongue you wouldn't believe it.
So just protect yourself. I don't know, anybody who's squeamish, leave the room. All right, here we go. If I may. Now, this is a Fox News. This is, I don't know. I haven't watched this, but apparently it's, even compared to some of his regular shit, it's relatively legendary. And by the way, has anybody shaken hands with this dude since the syphilis stuff started? I mean, anybody.
Don't touch my hands because they're dirty.
I believe me, I know. Okay, here we go. Whew.
So now, here with more on his plan to...
And he means moron. Thanks. This is this is Sean Hannity, right?
I agree. I'm a dope.
Yes, that's the right guy. Also, good of you to go with Trump Orange just for the interview. Is it a cult ritual that you guys share the same tube of bass? Just circus peanut.
Make America great again. The 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump. Mr. President, great to have you back, sir. How are you?
Well, thank you very much. That is some list you read off, and you can probably double and triple it. It's so bad. I don't think we've ever been in a position like this. It's terrible what's happened to our country. And
I want to see the list. Why don't you put the list on? If he's going to reference the list, start the fucking thing with the list. Or at least put it on a separate screen. So I want to see the list. What's the list of? I don't even know what's being tripled.
3 years.
Well, let's start in Iowa, though. The largest margin of victory prior
and one of the lowest turnouts. Reconcile those for me.
To your 30-point win on Monday was Bob Dole in 1988 with about just under 13% victory margin.
Yeah, but then the party was a functioning party, and they had a lot of viable options instead of a cult. Barnacle, like it used to be, cult members barnacled onto the Republican Party, and now it's like the Republican Party is the barnacle on the cult.
This is historic in so many ways.
Yeah, that historic margin, and yet you only got 5,000 more votes than Ted Cruz did.
How do you analyze this? What happened? Why was this bigger than any other Iowa caucus?
Yeah, that also shit description. It was not bigger than any other Iowa caucus. Like 80,000 fewer people showed up.
Because the Biden administration is so bad, and we now have a contrast. You didn't have a contrast so much before, and now you have a contrast. Why? What happened? We get the most votes of any sitting president in history, and then somebody else takes over, and they take a look at what we had versus what they have now. And the difference is so stark. It's so massive. It's so different. The country is a different place. We were respected all over.
All right. First of all, he lost me there. Is he talking about the voter or the actual Biden administration or the Democratic Party or the MAGA base?
For the world, we got the largest tax cuts ever, the largest regulation cuts ever.
Yes. You wonder why so many trains were going off the track.
We rebuilt our military, Sean. We did everything, even right to try. You know what right to try is? If you're able to use some of these incredible new drugs that they're making, bio drugs and other drugs, and people's...
What kind of drugs?
Incredible new drugs that they're making, bio drugs and...
Ooh, bio drugs. Mm-hmm. Those are the kind where, which is... Autobiographical drugs are the worst kind because they make people talk about themselves in the third person. It's one of the contraindications.
Other drugs and people's lives are being saved. You never could do it. You'd have to go to Asia.
I mean, some people die. Yeah, obviously they don't always work. Some people, it can be, it could be a painful death where, as opposed to a fading death, but whatever. Okay.
Have to go to Europe, different places all over the world. Now you get them here. And that was a hard thing. 58 years they tried to get that. If you were terminally ill.
By the way, 58 years ago, the idea of a cutting edge treatment versus 10 years ago is stark. I'm just saying, just because these assholes are late to catch up with the latest medical science and try to use fucking fish tank cleaner to stave off a respiratory infection does not mean that the rest of the world is still in, like, if you got a wart, cut a potato in half, rub it on it, and bury it in the backyard during a full moon.
They didn't want to give you a drug, even if they thought it might work, because they said, we don't want to hurt the people. I said, no, they're terminally ill. We're going to do something, and we got to.
Is that what you said? They didn't realize they were treating terminally ill people? Man, these I don't know what it is. These pharmaceutical companies, like, do they even know what they do for a living?
Done. It was not easy either, because the drug companies, nobody wanted it. The country didn't want it.
Nobody wanted it. People were hoping these assholes would die. What? Nobody wanted this. I did something that nobody wanted. That's it was a terrible idea, and I still did it, and it was really difficult. Sorry, okay. Nobody wanted it. Wait, listen.
And we got it done. It was not easy either, because the drug companies, nobody wanted it. The country didn't want it.
What? What is that? That's fucking amazing. That is the... This is so stupid. Okay. The country didn't want it. We were so popular. I did all kinds of shit that everybody's mad about. Oh, shit. Oh, God. That's... I don't even know.
They were worried about liability. People now sign a document. There's no liability, and they can take these drugs. And Sean, we're saving...
There's no, if you can't sue. You were going to die anyways, fuckhead. What did you think? What are you complaining? I know it hurts. You think death was going to be easy? Oh, he's dead already. Never mind. Okay. Is the lawsuit over? What do you mean his family has rights? Get the fuck out of here.
Thousands and thousands of lives. It's been an amazing miracle. We did so much, and you would have never had Ukraine.
Also for the record, not a miracle. Just the advances in medical science, like literally, like one of the reasons why they didn't do kind of right to try was because the treatments that they were talking about in the 60s and 70s, they didn't know how diseases progressed quite as much as they do now, thanks to electron microscopes. But they also, and statistically as well. But they're not gonna. The shit they wanted to try was a little fucked up. Like it was like, well, this might kill you and it might hurt, and of course it might make what you have more contagious, but we could give it a shot. It might save your life, but everyone in your house might die.
You would have never had the attack on Israel, none of these things, and you wouldn't have had inflation because I had oil so low.
You didn't have oil so low. The fucking economy collapsed. Everybody went home. Nobody was going anywhere, you asshole.
And now we have the exact opposite. We have a mess. We have the worst president in history.
Well, let me ask you this.
Let me ask you this. You see the stock market. We know you have some investments. Have they gone up or down in the last couple of years? Did they? Have you gained more in your investments than? Oh, you bet on what? Ah, I see.
I love the state of New Hampshire. I love the people of New Hampshire. I don't like their primary system for one reason. They have what's called an open primary.
Which, yeah, it's like a pansexual primary. That's the thing. Like when they say political whore in in New Hampshire. They mean it. I mean, on a professional level.
Already we know that nearly 4,000 Democratic voters have switched affiliation to Republican or undeclared, meaning independent, ahead of the primary, according to the Secretary of State's office. And it is believed, for example, one woman who's a co-chair of Nikki Haley's campaign, her own daughter, a Democrat, changed her affiliation from Democrat to Republican to vote for Haley in the primary. But even Governor Sununu, not a friend of yours, told our own Neil Cavuto that it's troubling that many of these people that will switch as Democrats and turn to independents and vote in the Republican primary, that when push comes to shove, that they would choose Biden in the end over any Republican. I'm not that fond of that system. Does that concern you?
Oh, yeah. They fucking love it if they can use it against Democrats. It can go both ways. The only reason you can't benefit from it right now, motherfuckers, because we've already got our dude in office.
The Real Clear Politics average has you up by 13. The Suffolk poll just out today, I think, had you up by 16. There was the CNN poll that had you up by 7. Does that system bother you?
It bothers me, and the governor should have done something about it.
Yeah, the freedom to just vote across stuff, like, I don't know, who are these libertarian Republican assholes who think people should be able to do whatever they want?
Instead of talking, waste his time with Nikki, because she's not going to make it. She has no chance. She's got no way. MAGA's not going to be with her. And, you know, when you said the Democrats voting, no, it doesn't say that. It said about Nikki that 50% of the Republicans would be lost to Nikki, only to Nikki, not even to...
What?
You know, when you said the Democrats voting, no, it doesn't say that. It said about Nikki that 50% of the Republicans would be lost to Nikki, only to Nikki, not even to Ron DeSanctimonious. So, you know, it's a bad thing for her, but it's a bad thing for us. Who has a...
All right, I don't know what the fuck. Yeah. 50% of who?
System where Democrats are allowed to vote in the Republican primary.
The same people who have the system where Republicans are allowed to vote in the Democratic primary if there is one. And by the way, you would like this system if you weren't a one-termer. Yeah, just throwing that out there.
And New Hampshire's an incredible place. I love the people. We won New Hampshire last time. It was fantastic what we did, and you know we have great spirit.
So, and did they change the system since then, fuckhead? When you won the state? Was it did they just decide in the middle of your, and what does that say about you if they did, which they didn't do, it's always been this way. But what does that tell you if you think they changed their system to allow anybody to vote across party lines while you were in office after voting for you? Like, oh, that was a fucking mistake. All right, guys, next time anybody can vote for anybody. This is just bullshit. I don't even know.
Great everything, but you need a system. You need a governor that's going to get it changed, not just talking about it. He's been talking about it for 4 years, never got it done. So Democrats are allowed to vote, which they're going to vote for her because they don't want to run against me. They want to run against her. You know, it's a very simple system.
In deference to
we are leading Biden in every poll. Michigan just came out. We're leading by 11. Georgia just came out. We're leading by 13 points. We're leading everywhere now.
Good luck with that.
And she's not. You know, she has one obsolete poll that she likes. She's about 2 months old, where she was leading Biden. Well, those days are gone. She's not leading Biden anymore. The problem is the Democrats.
Why? What happened? Did she say something anywhere near as the shit you've been saying?
Democrats want
stupid
her to run desperately, so they have a lot of Democrats signing up in New Hampshire. But I don't think it's going to matter. I saw one where we're at 50 or 51, and she was at 34, I believe. And I think we're going
to. Sounds like she's. So she's added 10% from Iowa, and she's moving in that direction, and you basically stalled out. So essentially, if she could carve off 3% of your baseline support, I'm just saying, it sounds like she's got a shot if she sticks in there of beating you in the number of delegates long term. It's a scary notion. And, I mean, she's going to keep campaigning. She's got money flowing in, you know. And
in very good shape like we were. And if you look at Iowa, nobody knew we were going to blow it out like that. You know, we were at, I think it finishes off close to 53. We won by 30 some odd points, and nobody thought that was possible. We doubled the all-time record, more than doubled, I guess.
Yeah, but you also cut the number of people who showed up in half. Jesus Christ. Yeah, this is, I talk about this all the time. When somebody's throwing the percentages around and they don't tell you the base number, it's a fucking shell game. They're fucking with you.
The all-time record. I think a similar thing's going to happen here. But here, independents and Democrats are allowed to vote.
What a bunch of shit.
So in order to try and stop Trump, they go out and they sign up, and they can sign up very easily. And Sununu should have stopped it.
Yeah. Let me ask you, I mean, you got a lot of praise for your speech, your victory speech in Iowa, and people noticed that you were particularly gracious. I noticed in the town hall, the last town hall we did together, the one you did with Brett and Martha, that you seem to have taken on a more gracious tone. If that,
you seem to be pussing out. What's up?
That's the way to say it. Maybe the question I get asked most often, I've asked you this question before.
Did you dip your head in a bucket of old pennies? Because that's the only way I can explain what color you are right now.
You know, why is Donald Trump always fight so hard? Dennis Miller brought this up on the program last night a little bit.
Jesus Christ, you had Dennis Miller on? No wonder I missed it.
A humility with Donald Trump will go a long way. Yes, he's been persecuted. His family has suffered. He's suffered. Yes, it's been unfair, but he fights hard. He loves his country, and sometimes maybe you shouldn't be as personal. What was your reaction to that?
Well, I know it, and I know it very well, but we also have to win, Sean. If I were a different type of person, I think I would have been out of office a long time ago. You wouldn't have even gone through.
You were out of office a long time ago. It's been almost the exact amount of time you were in office in the first place. Just saying.
But they hit me with Russia before the election even. I mean, if you look.
Well, that's because Russia interfered with that election cycle. And you were running cover for them at every turn.
Look at it. It was before the.
Also, there was a weird thing where this private dude was trying to show off the quality of the tech he had, and he discovered a bunch of Russian phones being used in the White House that just all of a sudden started showing up when your transition team was there, and he pointed it out to the authorities and was like, guys, there's a bunch of Russian cell phones all started pinging in and around and near and inside the White House as soon as he took, as the transition team started showing. Is that weird? Or
2016 election, it was all set up. And I fired Comey. I did a big job. We got rid of a lot of the deep state. And I will tell you, then.
What the fuck are you talking about? This asshole thinks Chris Wray is worse.
We had the COVID come 2.5 years later, but nobody ever had a better economy. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country.
Yeah, not true at all.
We had the strongest border in the history of our country.
Thanks, COVID.
I built over 500 miles of wall.
No, you didn't. You added about 45 miles to the already existing barrier, and to build a wall of that size, you had to extend access roads to the very end of it, which gave migrants a clearer and easier path to get around the fucking thing.
We got Mexico to give us 28,000 free soldiers.
Where are they, by the way? Why aren't they here? Couldn't they, Mexican soldiers, what are they, because I have some errands. Do we all get assigned a Mexican soldier now? They gave them to us. I mean, obviously, we'd all have a different use for them.
Free of charge. Not that easy to get, by the way. I had to do a lot of maneuvering, including tariffs and other things to get it. But we, by the way, speaking of tariffs, we took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China. And of that, we gave $28 billion to our farmers because they were abused by China.
No, they weren't. Your trade deal had nothing to do with agricultural shit. They agreed to buy they wanted to buy food and pigs, especially because they needed them. That was never a question. Then it was durable goods and stuff manufactured in the United States that we were trying to get them to buy, and they didn't get shit. They didn't fucking, where is it?
China don't buy, none of you buy.
Just fucking... It's so stupid. Like, they were always buying corn. They were always buying pork. They were always buying wheat and soybeans, you dumb son of a bitch. They weren't buying manufactured goods from here at all. And so his war about manufactured goods fucked the people who do have a consistent trade point with the Chinese, and that was people who sold foodstuffs.
It did to our farmers was horrible, and
They didn't do shit to our farmers. That's why the farmers were like, we just want a level playing field and we want to be able to sell. They needed it. And they didn't even ultimately buy as much as the deals. Like, fucking
did a great job for our country. You know, again, the largest tax cuts in history. The Democrats want to double up and triple up on the taxes. They want to double your taxes and triple your taxes.
Yeah? Where's the double your taxes, triple your taxes bill that's going through? Are they going to be able to pass it through the House? That's my question. So Mike Johnson's not going to pass the immigration bill, but he's going to pass a giant tax increase for Democrats? Huh.
I got you the bigger than the Reagan tax cuts. You and I were talking about that the other day, and you called up about the Reagan cuts and our cuts. Our cuts were substantially bigger. We got rid of the death
fuck Ronald Reagan and his bullshit
tax, or the estate tax for farmers and small manufacturers. You know, I mean, what we did was an amazing thing.
Those tax cuts.
And getting back to your one part of the question, though, we did all of that, and we had to fight off all of the witch hunts and the scandals and the horrible these.
And golf. Yeah, don't forget golf. You had to golf. You had to golf more than any president in history on your own properties, while the American taxpayer was paying for, I guess, hotel rooms for Secret Service at above market price. So, I mean, that's going to be exhausting. I mean, you had to sit down while you're trying to run the country and sit down there and decide to charge the Secret Service, the people who would take a fucking bullet for you, whose salaries are being paid by the American people, to charge them more than you would charge, I don't know, Ina Yashishin, the woman who pretended to be a fucking Rothschild who stayed at Mar-a-Lago, or any of these fucking rando, like, foreign dignitaries and their like an entourages.
People, what they did, Russia, Ukraine, 51 intelligence agents saying that the laptop from hell was created by Russia.
No, they said the stuff you were seeing that was allegedly from it was Russian disinformation. It looked very much like a Russian disinformation scam, which it was. Also, there is no laptop. It doesn't fucking exist. Feel free to @ me. If anybody has a picture of it. By the way, chat room, who has, where is it? Sorry. Chat room, who has the laptop right now? Who's in charge of it? Somebody has it. We got to figure out who has the chat. Yeah. Maga's terrible week ends with a bang. Sidney Powell and Plateau, they did what? Oh, sorry. Jump down here. Got to scroll down. Who has it? Yeah. Oh, you do? Okay. Jaggy and Kareen are carrying it. Okay. All right. Well, be careful with it. There's, and remember, it can never be photographed. You can take 1,000 pictures of your lunch, but no one is allowed to photograph I've told you guys 1,000 times. Nobody's allowed to have a picture of the actual laptop. Okay.
Not by Hunter Biden, okay? It was Hunter Biden all the way. They lied to Congress. They lied to everybody. 2 impeachments that went nowhere. They went out.
He was actually impeached. He was impeached both times. He just wasn't removed from office.
Absolutely nowhere. But
well, it also got. You can argue that the second one you were already on your way out the door, but they all agreed that you should be able to face justice in a regular courtroom.
I mean, if I were a softer individual. And I'll tell you something.
If you were a softer individual, you wouldn't actually have any bones, you fucking marshmallow.
Ron DeSantis or Nikki or anybody else, if they were in my position, if they were here, they would have been hit just as hard. These people.
No, I don't think either one of them is dumb enough to steal classified documents and be aware that they weren't supposed to keep them, and then fight the National Archives and the government to not give them back and engage in a conspiracy to not return them. I'm just, if Pence wouldn't do it, and that dude would suck a fucking bowling ball out of your butthole if he thought it would make you smile, I don't know where that came from, but it's true, then the rest of these assholes aren't gonna make the same stupid fucking mistakes. And I think the chances that Nikki Haley paid off a porn star is fairly slim.
People play tough, much tougher than the Republicans play, and the Republicans have to get tougher. But Nikki would,
well, if they're going to play that way, sure.
I know Nikki very well. She worked for me for a long time.
Right, you gave her a job because you thought she was qualified. Yeah, that's it. Or I suppose you were trying to sabotage the UN and America's position on the UN, which is very crucial and necessary to our national security. So you're either you put her in that position because you trusted her and you thought she would do the right thing, or you put her there so that you could destroy our national security and our engagement with the rest of the world. Which was it?
She would not be able to handle that position. She would not be able to handle the onslaught. With all of that being said.
Yeah, I got to say, there's nothing even remotely in anything she's done that even comes close to the number of crimes. Like, honest to God, the chances of us hearing a story about her grabbing a strange woman by the pussy or barging in on 15-year-olds while they're changing and bragging about it, or being friends with Jeffrey Epstein for 2 goddamn decades. Slim to none.
Within the Republican Party, I want to bring unity, and within the nation, I want to bring unity. And
Totally. Kumbaya.
Unity is going to come from success, because when we had this country prior to COVID, and then even after COVID, but especially prior to COVID,
after COVID was, technically it's not after COVID. We're still having an issue with it now. It's an ongoing thing. But the bigger part of, quote, after COVID happened when Biden was in office.
China virus coming in. We had the most successful country ever in history. There's
not even close to true.
Never been anything like it, what we did. And the other side was calling me, and they were coming to me.
Yes, they were saying, sir, with tears in their eyes. I have no doubt. Every Democrat. Bernie Sanders was calling up, just fawning about how he couldn't believe how magnanimous and open-hearted you were, and just the amount of success was assuaging all of his fears about your racist, sexist tendencies.
Wanted to talk. It was all coming together. Success will bring everybody under the same tent.
Okay, then since America is far more successful now than it was when you were in office, especially during the last year of your presidency, one would think are you suggesting that we should come together under Joe Biden? That's awfully sweet.
I covered all of that. I cannot disagree with you. And frankly, this show.
Well, that's different than won't. You might. There's a lot of reasons why you cannot disagree with them. I'm going to go with if you did, your own audience would eat you alive.
Me personally, I've been vindicated because as many networks peddled their lies and conspiracy theories, we day in and day out, we were peeling every layer of the onion. We got the Russia hoax right, as vindicated by the Horowitz report, the Durham report.
No.
I do want to ask you this. The last time I interviewed you, I asked you if you think that Joe Biden is going to be the Democratic nominee, and you said no. Do you still feel that way? And if you don't think it's him, who do you think is likely to replace him?
Look, he can't put 2 sentences together.
Jesus Christ.
He can't find the stairs off a stage, which there are a lot of them up there. Believe me, they're all over the place.
Yeah, the whole thing is a stair, if you really think of it. It's any layer that you're standing on, any level that has a level below it is technically a stair. And I know construction.
He can't find his way off a stage when he makes a very short speech, and it has to be short because it can't be long.
Okay, let's see. So officially, the speech starts at 4 minutes and 5 seconds, and it goes for 50 minutes. It's almost an hour. And then he talks about, and then I don't know if you noticed this, but right here at the end, back this up, hold on. He found his way off the stage pretty easily. There you go. Yeah, he's talking to people. He's got friends. You know what friends are? You ever seen anybody with fucking friends? Look at that. Yeah, people, and he knows people, and glad handing. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, see this whole thing where, see the stairs were in the front? He just kind of walks right off, and he just goes, hey, look at that. It all happened really quickly. There you go. And the other thing, too, is at the beginning of the fucking thing, he knew the names of everybody that was there. It was so weird. Oh, sorry. I got to turn on this one.
He can't negotiate. You look at what's happening. The whole world is blowing up. You know, Viktor Orban, the prime minister of Hungary, very tough guy, smart.
Tough, totally tough. I mean, 112% inflation.
Guy,
right,
brilliant guy, very respected, but tough. They asked him, what's going on with the world? He said one thing, very simple, bring back Trump. When Trump...
That's what he said? What's going on with the world? That was his take?
...was here, everybody was afraid of Trump. Now, I don't want to say that because I don't like that word.
Which one? Trump or afraid or everybody? Or I mean, there were a few words there, so...
But he said it. He's probably the toughest leader over there, one of the toughest anywhere, but highly respected and knows he gets it.
He knows he gets it? Well, I mean, if you know you get it, then who's to argue?
He said, you bring back Trump, it's all going to disappear. They all respected Trump.
Yes, if you bring back Trump, the whole world will disappear.
Trump. And they were afraid of Trump, but they all respected Trump. And it's true. Putin would have never attacked Ukraine. I got along with Putin, you know.
By the way, also, you notice how he leaves out so many things, like ISIS would have never attacked Iran would have never fired on Pakistan would have never fired back, that, you know, Hezbollah would have never attacked Israel, I suppose, that he's just leaving that out entirely. The Sudanese civil war would have not broken out anew. Why not take all those on? Why? How come? Oh, because there's nothing in it for you.
It's good to get along with people like Putin and like others.
I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. That's like saying it's good to get along with Ted Bundy. I don't know necessarily. I mean, I would like to think that if you were trapped in a room with him, you could pretend that you were getting along with him long enough to reach an exit and escape with your life, but...
You take a look at what's going on with China. They're just licking their chops right now to go into Taiwan. They wouldn't have even thought about it with me. And
Okay, first of all, they've been talking about it for decades, and they can lick their fucking chops all they want. Their missiles are full of water.
Talks with President Xi. I have a great relationship. If Hillary...
Do you? Really? Based on what?
Hillary Clinton would have won, you would have had a nuclear war with North Korea. Kim Jong-un, I got along with him too. Nobody ever got to talk to him except me. And I got not only talked to him, I got along with him great. It's good to get along with people that have massive nuclear weapons, and they have a large nuclear stockpile.
Great. And why? Wouldn't the purpose be to kind of get them to not have a nuclear stockpile? Wouldn't that be kind of the goal?
So...
Or are you just threatening people at this point? Like, I have these fuckers on speed dial. Don't mess with me or they'll send somebody over to kill you.
I did a job.
Because it's kind of what it sounds like.
I did the job and we made America great again. And these people, what they're doing to our country, they're allowing millions and millions of people to pour through it's an invasion into our country. And they're coming from prisons.
Yes, the great toddler invasion.
And they're coming from mental institutions and insane asylums and prisons are being emptied all over the world, not just in South America.
And they're giving these people rowboats all over the world, yeah? Yeah, so Belarus emptying out their insane asylums and stuff, and then what it is, they put them on a sailboat, and then they basically say, go west, young man. What are you talking about?
All over the world, they're being emptied.
All over the world. Everybody's got the word. Now I'm in an ELO hole.
Out into our country. We're like a dumping ground. And you know what else is coming in? Terrorists are coming in.
Really? Do you know them personally? I mean, you know all their bosses. So maybe, did they tell you where they are? Maybe you could make a phone call.
And we have to stop it.
Okay, well, hey, I don't know why you're not tearing open your shirt and showing everybody the emblem on your chest to, and going and like, I can't finish this interview, Sean, because I got to go kick ass. I got to go terrorist stopping.
Mr. President.
Next 11 months or 10 months is a very dangerous period.
We have been able to count the numbers of people coming from Iran and Syria, thousands from Egypt, thousands from Afghanistan.
Right. If you can count them, then you know how many are here.
12,000 from Russia, 26,000 from China, showing up at our southern border. Nobody's ever going to convince me that that all of them are coming here for a better life for them and their family, and amongst them are not people that have nefarious intentions.
Right, but obviously, you do realize you're shitting the bed on your claim that the border is open and they're just walking through. Because if we know where they're from and we know how many there are, that means they are being interdicted at the border. They're being the Customs and Border Patrol are getting them, right? Otherwise, how the fuck, what do they just go? That guy looks Russian to me. Okay, put him in the Russia column. That guy looks Arabic. I don't know. Maybe he's Jewish. I don't know. It's always hard to tell. At this time, it's a little dark. Let's wait. Let's tell you what. Shoot at him. See if he runs back, and then maybe he'll cross when the light is better.
Let me ask you this. Usually, after 4 years, the president can ask a question. Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? I don't think Joe Biden can run on that. As a matter of fact, they have pretty much telegraphed what they're going to run on. Democracy in peril. Trump is evil. Trump is evil. Trump is...
Also infrastructure and great jobs numbers and manufacturing and the Chips and Science Act basically shutting down the Chinese economy almost entirely. So, again, what's he going to run on? Things were so good before I let COVID fuck everything up.
Is evil and dangerous, and you got to fear him. January 6th.
I don't have to fear him. I fear his randomness in around power. You know what I mean? It's like Trump is like spilled water rolling towards a frayed electrical cable. I'm not afraid of water. It's just the random haphazard damage that he does.
January 6th, and then the usual playbook. Republicans are racist and sexist, and
not all of them. Just and don't forget, by the way, some of them are dopes.
I agree. I'm a dope. Have every phobia known to man, whether it's real or not, and they want dirty air and water. That's all they've got.
It's kind of a lot, though. It's kind of a lot. I mean, especially with the Roe v. Wade stuff and like sexism. I noticed you kind of stayed away from that one, but I mean it's curious that you just kind of you didn't throw women's rights in there at all. You didn't bring that up because that's a fucking winner for the Democrats, right?
See any one issue that Joe Biden can run on
besides actually passing an infrastructure bill and insulin costs going down and essential medication costs going down and unemployment being under 4% for like the longest streak in fucking history, wages going up and outpacing inflation. Like,
what will your answer to their predictable attacks be?
Well, Russia. No.
Well, that's all they have is right, because their economy has been terrible. The inflation is destroyed. Anybody that made even a little more money, even a lot more money, it more than got eaten alive by inflation. When you look at the price increases of energy, of housing, and I mean rental housing. I looked the other day, it's up almost 51%. The cost of bacon quadrupled.
Oh, my God. Bacon? What? When did that happen? Oh, for a little while, and then went back down, did it? Bacon, is it? You're going with bacon?
All of these
I guess that's his idea of a kitchen table issue.
Things. I mean, food costs, clothing costs. It's so much that no matter what you're making, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, people are walking around naked, and they're like carrying one piece of bacon, just hugging it. It's worth more than gold. We call it fat gold.
Inflation is known over the years, over hundreds of years. It's known as a country buster. It breaks
as a country. I thought it was a country destroyer, but okay.
Countries. It broke.
Break it or bust?
Broke Germany. It broke a lot of countries.
Yeah, mainly Germany, though. You mean the where it set up Hitler, and you were like, inflation's really what made Hitler come to power. Wait a second.
We've had the worst inflation we've had, I think, in 78 years. They say 52. It's probably more than 78.
What do you mean? Is that your lifetime? And so that's the idea, is that only thing matters is like during your existence. Also, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's been a disaster, and all in the wrong places.
Well, so runaway inflation is fine in certain places?
I had no inflation, and I had the greatest economy ever.
You literally had deflation. Oil went negative. It was negative $35 a barrel.
We had gasoline at $1.87. Now it's $4 or $5. But by the way, they're working together with other countries, sadly, because it's artificial, because they're going to give it up right after the election. You've seen that before.
What?
But they're working to get gasoline prices down. It's an artificial reduction. But the gasoline was up to $6, $7, $8 a gallon. And it still is very high. It's much too high. But we had the greatest economy.
Okay, so he thinks we're working with other countries to bring down gas prices. The administration is working with other countries to bring down gas prices. And then right after the election, they're going to let it go back up again. I don't know.
In history. And what else did we have? No inflation. We had the safest border in the history of our country.
Thanks, COVID.
And it was like
and then he built the wall. And then look what happened. Fucking wall.
A beautiful thing was taking place. We had a border, and I got Mexico to do a lot for us. Now Mexico's saying we want $5 billion just to talk. Mexico wouldn't have talked to me that way. I have a great relationship with the president. But Mexico, they had to pay a lot. You know, they gave us 28,000 soldiers free of charge.
Yeah, it's so weird.
To guard our border. And
And by the way, no, they didn't. They're not there. What are you talking about? This is during construction.
First presented that to them, they laughed. They thought I was kidding. But through a series of negotiations, they gave us everything we wanted. Stay in Mexico. Remember, remain in Mexico? That was
Yeah, it's not as good as stay in Mexico.
It was me. Remain in Mexico. Nobody can come in. They remain. You think Mexico was happy about that? They gave it to me. Catch and release in Mexico.
It's during COVID.
I call it catch and release in Mexico. We had catch and release in the United States, and Mexico did that. They gave us things that nobody can believe. The State Department.
I called it throw them back if they're not big enough to keep.
Department couldn't believe it. The Border Patrol people, they couldn't believe it.
Shit.
Nobody could believe it.
Nobody still believes it. It's interesting. It's one of the consistencies of your presidency to now. You know, consistent things from then till now is that nobody believes any of this because it's fucking nonsense.
Nobody could believe it. You know, if you talk to Tom Homan and if you talk to anybody from Border Patrol, and they have great people.
They do, except they stopped enforcing the border, right? Though I heard that Biden told them the border is open, let anybody through, and they were like, okay. We got an order from the White House. We're not going to stop anybody. And so they're just letting people through. It's weird. I don't know why they would do that. Maybe you can explain it.
They have great people. They'll tell you the greatest president in history for the border, for immigration, was Trump. Not even a contest. Not even a contest.
Yeah. Let me ask you about these states that are trying to remove you from the ballot. I mean, it's kind of ironic, isn't it? A party that is making an argument that democracy is in peril couldn't be more undemocratic as they try to remove your name from even running and even having your name on the ticket. Now,
yeah, but he participated in an insurrection after he had already taken the oath of office.
I don't think this is going to.
The only reason he can't be allowed on the ballot, and the main argument is that his oath ain't worth shit. He has proved it. An oath is only as valuable as many people keep it. And the minute you let somebody break it and then take it again, it starts to water it down.
I have to believe the Supreme Court will intervene.
Why? There's already a remedy in the Constitution. They can have a vote in the House and Senate. And if 60% of both houses think he should be on the ballot, he's back on the ballot.
If there's real justice, it should be a unanimous 9-0 opinion in my view.
Why? Because that would mean they would overtake states' rights. States have the right to do this.
But what is your reaction? Because you're the person they're trying to kick off the ticket, but they're the ones claiming you're not democratic. Pretty ironic.
Well, they're, in the defense of these states, they're kicking him off because he's anti-democratic, because he swore an oath to protect the democracy and then he attacked it. So he can't be trusted to take the oath again.
We put on 3 great justices and you have some other.
They should, and I gave them $28 billion, so.
Great justices up there, and they're not going to take the vote away from the people. I mean, I'm right now. You saw in the history of the Iowa primary, I mean, the history of it, goes back a long time. I won by the most. Nobody's ever won, as you know, because you covered it very well, but everybody covered it. Even the bad reporters covered it this way. There's nobody even close. I doubled up and more than doubled up the second best. Now the
Right. You're just going to blow past the low turnout, right?
second best. It stood for a long time, as you know, that record. But they want to make sure, I'm sure the Supreme Court is going to say, we're not going to take the vote away from the people. Now, Biden is a threat to democracy. He's an absolute threat to democracy. He's very dangerous for a couple of reasons. Number one, he's grossly incompetent, which is the number one reason. But he's also...
So he's an accidental threat.
Actually, in his own way, it's not him. It's the people that surround him. You got some very bad people surrounding him at that desk.
You mean the people that somehow helped him, I guess, win office and cheat his way into the Oval Office, even though you were president? The people that, I guess, fucked you up?
The people running the Department of Justice surrounding him. They're young and they're smart and
they're oiled up and they're sexy and they all have six packs.
They're communists and they're Marxists and they're fascists and they're running.
And whatever ists you can, they're vegans probably.
Running this country. They're running it right into the ground. But I don't think the Supreme Court would do it because...
Well, I mean, there's a difference between running something into the ground and actually landing the plane when it was on fire for 4 years. I think there's...
You can't take the vote. You know, I'm leading in every poll. I'm leading Biden, but I'm leading the remaining Republicans. There's two of them, and they're barely hanging on. How can you possibly take the vote away?
I mean, just in the last 2 days, two credible polls. Suffolk and St. Anselm were right. Suffolk nailed your number in, I think they were off by one. They had you at 52, not at 51. They have you up, I think, by 16 now. St. Anselm has you up by 14. These are the most recent polls. These are post-Iowa polls.
Well, that's in New Hampshire. But if you look at the national polls, in New Hampshire, we're doing great. And take a look at the national polls. I'm up by 65 points. I mean, 65 points, and I'm up by 11, 12, 13 points on the Democrats.
Mm-hmm. I know you have to run to an event. And by the way, our deepest sympathy to the First Lady on the loss of her mom. Please convey that to her for us.
Well, thank you. She was a great woman, Sean.
What is your closing message to the people in New Hampshire?
It's very simple. It's make America great again. But I think very important.
No, it's make America great over and over. Magoo.
Before we do this, because you were talking about the Supreme Court, they have two votes that are very important coming up. One is, as we discussed, we call it Colorado or whatever, but...
Yeah, Colorado or whatever.
You know, I really believe they're going to leave the people to vote. Again,
they're going to leave the people to vote.
The leading candidate in both parties. You're leading the Democrats by many, many points. I mean, it's hard to imagine they would do. And most states have already approved it, as you know. Very few states have done that. This is Colorado and a couple of others at this moment. But they have another important, and that's immunity for the president. The president of the United States...
Jesus Christ. Really, you want to end on this?
I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about any president has to have immunity. Because if you take immunity away from the president, so important, you will have a president that's not going to be able to do anything.
So you want Joe Biden to have absolute immunity. You want him to be able to do anything he wants and have immunity. This is how I know your entire argument is bullshit. This is the same nonsense we get from Alex Jones. There is a giant organization that runs the whole world that's killing everybody and trying to depopulate the earth, but they let you run your fucking mouth and tell everybody the plan? Are you out of your fucking mind? There's only two ways this is possible. It's possible that anything close to what you're saying is true. One is that they know it won't make a fucking difference and, you're bullshitting and you don't know what you're talking about, so they just let you're sort of an accidental disinfo campaign on their part, or you work for them and they intentionally give you shit to say so that idiots look at it like the fucking, like a puppet when kids are getting a photo taken, so they're like, look at the birdie. Like that's That's the best you could say about Alex Jones. You could say that he's either he works for the Illuminati or it's none of it's true. And at the same time, this motherfucker, if he believed anything he said about the weaponization of the Justice Department or the government and all that, like the literal phrase, the weaponization, if you actually believe that, would you argue for the total immunity of that person, of the person running that right now, if they're your enemy? Are you out of your fucking mind?
Because when he leaves office, the opposing party, president, if it's the opposing party, will indict the president for doing something that should have been good. Like Obama dropped missiles and they ended up hitting a kindergarten or a school or the apartment house. A lot of people were killed.
Yeah, you mean the rules of engagement, the accidental killing of civilians in a battlefield that you removed? This motherfucker removed the rules of engagement. This is why he's stuck on this, by the way. This is why he brings this up, is because when you compare something to like accidental collateral damage, stuff that's not supposed to happen that does happen, right? He did more civilians were killed with drone strikes in his first year in office than in all of the 8 years Biden was in office. Okay, even when we had more people in Iraq and Afghanistan, even as they pared people down to a lower number during the first year of his presidency, more people were killed, more civilians were killed by drone strikes under his presidency. Like the murder rate was like up, or the death rate was up 80% in the first fucking year. And I would like to remind you that all those deaths are on the people who voted for him over Hillary Clinton because she's a warmonger. Right? Fuck off. The idea somehow that this guy is better on war is absurd. It's an act of idiotic violence on its own. But the reason this sticks with him is because he knows he was indiscriminate in his bombing. He specifically told them to be indiscriminate. He said, take the leash off, let him go. That's why he was like, we can beat ISIS. And everybody's like, it'll take 4 years. And he's like, we can do it in 4 weeks. Well, yeah, you can do it in 4 weeks if you don't give a fuck about creating the next ISIS after that, or you don't give a shit about killing civilians. The reason it takes longer is because to be strategic, it takes time. It takes intelligence. It takes, engaging with the locals. It takes an international community working together. It's a long fucking process. But if you don't give a fuck and you don't consider the civilians of another country human, yeah, you can do it in 3 weeks. You can Nagasaki the fuck out of it. That's why I dropped a Moab.
Well, if that's the case, he's going to end up being indicted when he leaves office. He meant well. The missile went in the wrong direction.
Yeah, that's not the same thing. You can't be indicted for that.
And other things. Look at Biden. What would happen to Biden? He's killed our country with his policies. The border is a disaster. Everything he does is a disaster. What he did in Afghanistan is the most embarrassing moment in the
Yeah, there's no law against being embarrassing. Otherwise, you would have gotten the chair, quite frankly. I don't even know why you want to argue
history of our country, giving them $85 billion worth of equipment, killing our soldiers, wounding horribly our soldiers, and leaving people behind. Well, when he leaves office, if he doesn't have immunity, now, I think it's horrible what he did, but he probably, I don't know, it's hard to believe, but he probably meant well. It's hard to believe that he meant well, but the man is incompetent. But you have to leave immunity with a president. If a president
this is just fucking gibberish.
Is afraid to act because they're worried about being indicted when they leave office, a president of the
No. A president should be concerned that if they act illegally, that they will get indicted. Why the fuck do you think George Bush had his fucking attorneys drafting all these papers on enhanced interrogation? Because he was afraid he would go to jail. Because he was aware that they were on the edge of something illegal. I personally think they crossed that line. But the reason why he didn't just go, fuck it, just, string them up, and then if they squawk, kill them. The only reason they didn't do that is because it would have been illegal, because he would have been prosecuted. Can you imagine George W. Bush and Dick Cheney in the first 3 years of the Iraq-Afghanistan wars with total immunity? Are you out of your fucking mind?
The United States has to have immunity, and the Supreme
The United States has to have immunity. Yeah, no, because if we have immunity, then somebody like you gets in charge. You think there's anything that's going to stop this motherfucker from just slaughtering civilians everywhere they turn? What he means is he wants the same rules that Putin has. Putin can send the fucking Wagnerites and all that shit down to Sudan, and they can just fucking slaughter people. They can send rape squads into Ukraine, and if anybody, like, certainly no one inside the country is gonna go after them, but outside the country, they're just gonna say, fuck you.
Court's going to be ruling on that. If they don't have immunity, no president is going to act. You're going to have guys that just sit in office and are afraid to do anything.
Bullshit. No, if you're going to do something right, then you'll have to, the idea that you would have to maybe defend it in court after you were president. That's what courage is, especially if it's a difficult thing. Also, I'd like to remind you that he golfed more than any other president in history.
By the way, it is ironic. It took you a long time. You were once critical of me for pointing out Joe's cognitive deficiencies.
And then you started showing your own. It's very bold.
I think it's very transparent now for the world to see. I was more right than I thought I was. We're looking forward. We'll see you in New Hampshire on Tuesday. We really appreciate your time. Thank you, Mr. President, for being with us. We appreciate it.
Did he almost say Sister President?
Yeah, Sean, one thing. I wasn't critical of you. I was critical of you joking about it. I wasn't critical of you.
That's true.
I didn't think you should be joking about it.
I did. You know what? You were right at the time.
I just wanted to give you a little correction, but that's okay.
Also, what the fuck is the difference? If you criticize somebody for joking about something, then all right. I think I know what he means, which is it's not a topic you should joke about, because he knows he's slipping and it scares the fuck out of him that he's going to be the butt of those jokes, which he absolutely is these days. He's like, it's not funny when people make fun of you for being a doddering old fart. I'm a doddering old fart. It's starting to get scary. But the fact, but he is, you are criticizing him. He was doing it.
I took it to heart. I mean that. All right. Thank you, Mr. President.
I know that.
Appreciate your time.
I know that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity.
Yes. By the way, hi chat room. You guys are wonderful. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Okay, couple of things. How much time do I have? I'm okay. All right. I'm not going to be able to get through all this shit. Let me go to this one first. Okay, first of all, don't forget to hit that like, please, if you could. Share the show, share the clips, comment, write a little commenty thing below and stuff on other. And if you're on another platform, go to YouTube. If you're ever on there, if you ever peruse by YouTube, you ever in the YouTube neighborhood, just hit a like and a subscribe there while you're at it. You know, while you're feeling it. If you feel like that, that's cool. And then, of course, same thing on Twitch. Come on, Twitch. Subscribe. We're trying to hit our 100K mark on all of our sites. So that's our goal for all of them. All right, now, if I may, I made a special short video not too long ago about how blatantly full of shit and stupid Jim Jordan is, where he's making this case about. Well, it's like his 4 points that he keeps going back. He was on Burisma. He doesn't know what he's doing. They made a phone call, and it changed what Biden was going to do. And then I've shown you that, quite frankly, there were memos a month before that were saying this was the goal for that particular meeting, was to get Shokin out of there. And ultimately, the guy that went in after him is the guy who went after Zlochevsky, and that the concern from them was that they had Zlochevsky wrapped around their finger, and that Biden was going to put in somebody that would actually go after the guys at Burisma, which he did, and that guy did, and Zlochevsky had to flee the country. It's so base. I don't know why they have a hard time understanding it or why they keep digging. Maybe it's because it just works with their people. You know what I mean? Like they've heard this so many times, they just believe it the more you say it. Anyways. This is a new one. Jim Jordan reveals critical questions he's going to ask Hunter during the deposition.
Congressman Jim Jordan.
Which I think, why would you do that? I think, why would you show your cards? Yeah.
Is with us now. What's your take on Adam Schiff's 2024 agenda?
Well, it's the left, as you said, Stuart. Open borders, non-citizens voting, raise everybody's taxes. I mean,
No, we're not. The Democrats are not trying to get non-citizens voting.
It's
and raising taxes. Like, where is that?
basically Joe Biden. I say all the time, think about it, in 3 years' time, we have literally went from
a pandemic where we lost ultimately 1 million Americans to most people being vaccinated, everybody being back to work, the longest stretch of below 4% unemployment in our lifetimes, rising wages, an infrastructure bill passed, a rescue bill passed, the Chips and Science Act basically shuttering China's theft of American intellectual property. Oh yeah, and fuck you.
secure border to no border.
Again, I would talk to the Customs and Border Patrol. Why are they just letting people through? Is it out of spite?
We've went from safe streets to record crime. We went from $2 gas to $3.4.
Went from no one on the streets to crime, and then it going back down. And by the way, we didn't have a pandemic before the 90s. Anybody remember the pandemic of the late 80s, which is when crime was actually higher in most cities than it has been since post-COVID? Anybody remember a previous era where crime was that high, but it didn't follow some sort of giant world-crushing pandemic?
Or $5 gas, and maybe most importantly, we went from stable prices to record inflation under the left's policies.
Stable? They were stable, were they? Sorry, in June of 2020, when in Texas specifically, they were showing people lining up for food donations, for basically bread lines for Americans because of the COVID shutdowns. Those are gone. Those don't exist anymore. We do not have giant lines of people in cars trying to get food because everything was fucking shut down.
And I haven't even got into foreign policy where, the weakness projected from the Oval Office has led to all kinds of terrible things, namely Hamas and Hezbollah attacking our dearest and best friend, the state of Israel. So that's just more, that's where the left is, whether they're running for Senate, whether...
Sorry, was Netanyahu too tough or too much of a wuss? Was he distracted? How is it, we left Afghanistan, so Hamas decided it was time to attack Israel, and you're just going to blow past the fact that they planned this right after Trump gave Israel the Golan Heights, recognized Jerusalem as the capital, and decided to move the embassy there, and they decided all bets are off. America is signing with basically the Netanyahu crowd, and that was what made them go, we're going to do a rope-a-dope and murder a bunch of people?
Running for president.
I think we're in agreement on this one, Jim, so I'm going to move on. Hunter.
Really? All right. You're just going to move on from this right here? I mean, it is Fox Business. You're just gonna ignore that. Yep. I mean, I can understand why other networks would, but you guys are Fox Business. I would think most of the time Fox Business looks at that number and thinks that means that the sun shines out of the president's ass. When if you think they'd ignore if Trump was president and the Dow was at 37,000, approaching 38,000?
Will sit for a closed-door deposition February the 28th. What's the first question you want answered by him?
Who'd you call on December 4th? You're in Dubai. The heads of this Burisma, this Ukraine energy company that you sat on the board of, said, we're under pressure. We need help relieving the pressure we're under from the prosecutor in Ukraine. When we talked to Devin Archer, he said he called his dad. Then he said he called D.C. I want to know who he talked to. Did you?
Well, he said he didn't know. You guys were like, did he call his dad? And then he was like, actually, they said they were calling Washington. I don't know who that is in particular.
You talked to Vice President Biden. Who else in D.C.?
And by the way, let's go with he talked to his dad. Hunter Biden, with Zlochevsky in tow from Burisma, gets a call from him and he goes, hey, Dad, they want you to fire the prosecutor. And he goes, did the administration tell you? What do you mean? What are you talking about? Well, I'm going to. We're all going to. Everybody, the fucking World Bank wants it. The fucking EU wants it. Van der Leyen, Obama, everybody in the State Department. They're like, this motherfucker's got to go. So, I mean, what am I just going to add Zlochevsky to a fucking, to the fuck that dude tick in the gotta go column.
Did you talk to? Because what happened just a few days after Joe Biden went to...
Oh my God, it's the same shit. Good Lord. All right. Pause. I don't know why. Every fucking time we always gotta be a thing where we go into the thing. All right, where is this? Go back to search. And we go to Shokin. We be Shokin. Whoops. Yeah, there we go. Grab this guy right here, if I may. And ladies and gentlemen, I give you, let's see, I'll stretch this out so it looks better because I even built another screen for it. So I should be able to bring it out. Go down to here. We'll go to this guy right here, if I may. Yeah, there you go. And this is the U.S. State Department notes for Biden's visit to Ukraine, that December trip that he's talking about. Except this was written this is the final version, November 23rd. This is before the phone call. And again, background, the whole is the Vice President Biden meeting with Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko, December 7th through 8th. This is it. Sensitive but unclassified, November 22nd, 2015. This is again found on a right-wing site, Just the News, posted with a bunch of other shit that they got through FOIA or some other way, or from like the Trump crowd. Look in here. Let's see. Talking about Petro Poroshenko, that he should talk about reforms. There is wide agreement that anti-corruption must be at the top of the list. And that reforms must include an overhaul of the Prosecutor General's office, including the removal of Prosecutor General Shokin, who is widely regarded as an obstacle to fighting corruption, if not a source of the problem. Again, this goes back to the whole fucking diamond prosecutor shit. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, look up Ukraine diamond prosecutors. That's Shokin's boys.
Ukraine conditioned the release of American tax dollars on firing the prosecutor who was applying the pressure.
Right, because that was actually in his mandate. Whoops. That's in his mandate from the actual talking points from the State Department. Vice President's meeting, the goals and objectives. Here it is. Your visit to Kiev comes as infighting amongst the parties in Ukraine's government coalition is growing and stalling progress in the government's agenda. U.S. Department of State. These are what I agree. Participants. Okay, SPM Minsk implementation. They were also talking about on the participants. Vice President Ambassador Jeff Pyatt. Biographical information is attached to this, and on the other side, Petro Poroshenko, President of Ukraine, and other people who might be there. And then these are the other folks. And then here's the other parts of this, and these are the changes, and there's a wide agreement. And they've touched on different. There were changes in this. None of them affected the part where the guy's got to fucking go. We will continue to stand behind you in your reform efforts. I will sign a $1 billion loan guarantee with you today and announce additionally this assistance will go to reform priorities, fighting corruption, strengthening the rule of law, restoring economic stability. The new announcement does not include security assistance, which we will continue to work separately. We need Ukraine to commit the personal resources to make this training effort and multinational joint commission successful. We recognize Ukraine's right to self-defense. We have not ruled out. This is the speech they would give later after this was agreed. Okay, talking points. Anti-corruption efforts, top of your agenda. That will mean standing up the National Investigative Bureau. It will also require changing the Prosecutor General, who is damaging your credibility and obstructing the fight against corruption. This is in his fucking talking points. Before the phone call ever happened. It will also require changing the prosecutor. It's not. We suggest you change the, signing of the $1 billion thing down here on U.S. support. There is a requirement of unity and reforms that have to be met before that happens, and they weren't. They'd been dicking around for months. I like how fucking. All right.
To Burisma, the company that Hunter Borden sat on the board of.
Hunter Borden from the ice cream company?
So that, I think, is a critical question. Then there's some other obvious ones, like who's the big guy? We all know who it is, but I want to have Hunter Biden confirm that.
Ask what's his name? Ask what's his name? Bobolinsky.
All right, who's the big? What was the brand that you were selling? Your partner Devin Archer said the brand was access to Joe Biden.
No, he didn't.
Is that what you think? Is that the brand? Is that what you were selling? So I think there's some just fundamental basic questions that we want to get out, and then there'll be a lot of others as well.
If it's a closed door hearing, and it is, what's the advantage of that from your point of view?
Well, you get a whole hour. Our chief counsel on the committee will get a whole hour of questioning. Then it goes to the Democrats, then back, and you can go, several hours of this. That's where you can really get into things versus the 5 minutes that happens typically in a congressional hearing, member by member. So you always do depositions first, and we have them, I think, now in the proper sequence. We had Kevin Morris yesterday, the guy who bought a bunch of Hunter Biden's art, who's paid for a bunch of his tax bills and other bills. We're going to have.
Who's by the way, a Democratic donor who actually gives a shit about the Democratic agenda and that idea, and he's just a rich dude. That guy buying that guy turned out to be the person who was buying the art. It makes this so much less of a story. I mean, think about it. It'd be one thing that these motherfuckers always talking about China money and money from our adversaries and our enemies all over the world. And in reality, this dude isn't even trying to get shit out of the administration. This is a guy who just likes the priorities of the Biden administration and has money enough to cover this. Like that's where this came from. It's so fucking lame. Meanwhile, Steve Bannon, pardoned by Donald Trump for fucking maggots out of their money, is on Guo and Guai's fucking yacht when the dude is arrested. Come on.
We're going to have next week Rob Walker. We got Eric Schwerin. We got Tony Bobolinsky. We got Jim Biden, who's coming in. And then, of course, Hunter Biden at the end of February. So we got these key people we want to talk to as part of our impeachment inquiry. And then we'll have to make a decision whether we're moving forward with articles of impeachment or not.
Got it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you really, at this point, you're 3 years in and you're waiting for somebody. What do you expect him to do? Hold up what evidence you have and make it more incriminating? Seriously.
All right, Jim. The New Hampshire primary is coming up Tuesday next week. Trump's clearly running away with the nomination. That's my opinion. Is it time for the other candidates, Haley and DeSantis, to drop out?
Well, I leave that up to them. What I know is President Trump's going to win. I think he's going to run away with this nomination, just like he did in Iowa. I think he's going to be, more importantly, our
You mean with a low turnout?
Our next president, which is...
You're predicting a low turnout, like a historically low turnout for the rest of these races?
What we really need, back to the policies where you had someone in the Oval Office who actually did what he told the American people he was going to do and made life...
What, grab women by the pussy?
Better for families across this great country. So,
well, as long as he didn't come into contact with them, I guess.
That's what I hope happens if they stay in for a few more states. I mean, that's up to them, but I don't think it matters. President Trump's going to win. He's going to be our nominee, and I think he's going to be our next president.
One thing that's been striking us is the extraordinary contrast between the President Biden, whose cognitive ability seems to be declining on a daily basis and who has absolutely no energy, and Donald Trump, who's racing around the country from courtroom to caucuses to primaries, and the man doesn't lose a step. I mean, that's...
Well, tell me you haven't actually watched his speeches without telling me you haven't actually watched his speeches.
No, a contrast.
No, it sure is, and I think the country sees that. They know the energy President Trump has. More importantly, they know...
Yes, it's... And they notice the sniffing at the same time. And also the kind of rambling, like, word salad, bullshitting, lost, drifty, conversational tone that mixes in with his, like, clinging to the teleprompter at times. Yeah, yes, we noticed.
Oh, he's fighting for them. He has a great line he uses in almost every speech he gives.
Yeah. That could be true of everything he says.
And he says, they're coming after me because I'm fighting for you.
It's not exactly what he says. It's if you've heard it that many times, like they're coming, they're not coming after me. They're coming after you. I'm just in the way, is what he actually says. And how do I know that better than he knows that? And both of these motherfuckers are like, wow, I've seen all of his speeches, and they get better and better and better. Really? Then. Because I can quote some of his shit in my goddamn sleep, even though I don't want to.
And actually out in Iowa, he changed it a little bit. I thought it was even better. He said out in Iowa, we were at a rally with the president. He said, they're coming after my freedom because I'm fighting for yours. And
Yeah, that's not what he said either. They're trying to take away my freedom because I won't let them take away your freedom. That's what it actually... Fucking hell.
The country understands that, and that's why you saw the enthusiasm in Iowa in minus 20-degree temperatures, people coming out to support President Trump, because they know he is fighting for them, and they know what we had when he was president just a few years ago.
Syphilis?
Jim Jordan.
Stage 1?
Jordan, thank you very much for being on the show today. Always appreciate it.
You bet, Stuart.
See you soon.
Thank you, brother.
All right, yeah, gibberish. Okay, now, one last thing, if I may, reminding everybody to hit that like, and show's going out okay. Does it look okay? Is anybody on Instagram? Does it look okay? Is there anything in there that I can know about? I don't even know if I can technically see. Hold on, multi-stream. Maybe this gives me, does it show up in here? We'll see. I don't know. There's a bunch of people. It's very exciting. There it goes. Now it's starting to populate. I like you being here. How about that? Hold on. Now, yeah, it's good. Okay, cool. Just trying to make it work, you know. Now, where is the last one? I've got one more clip. Yeah, here it is. Okay. Actually, shit, I don't even know how long is this? Okay, this isn't long. So yeah, let me jump into this one. So, again, people, let me just say right out of the gate, prepare yourselves. I apologize ahead of time. This might be a bit of a shock when I flip over to this. This is Matt Gaetz. We don't cover him very often because he always says the same shit, and it's just gross. And this is his, I guess, his podcast, video show, whatever. Like, I don't even know if our live streams podcast. Mine isn't. It can be, but Jesus Christ, they just got rid of the iPod. I don't know that any of it works. So, anyways, the overall, well, I'll show you. And this is the title of this one. I'm voting no on this turd sandwich of a continuing resolution. This is a sitting congressperson and just an absolute douche canoe. But this is his reasoning, I guess, or just his assertion that he won't. Let's see.
In just moments, I have to go to the House floor and I have to vote against this turd sandwich of a continuing resolution.
You don't have to, but you're going to, because I guess not voting for it creates the illusion that you actually did something as opposed to participating in the process because it's going to pass of getting some sort of priorities in there.
America should not be governed by continuing resolution. It is.
Well, we can't help if you're a bunch of lazy lamos. The Republicans run the fucking House.
It's thoroughly unserious, and it is a system designed to avoid the actual review of the agencies and the programs in the federal government.
No, it isn't. It can't stop the review. The oversight committees meet no matter what. They're not. The CR actually will continue funding, amongst other things, for the actual oversight committees, where they look into how money is spent, whether there's a return on that investment for the taxpayer.
I think it was Ronald Reagan who said that the closest
fuck off
thing you get to immortality is a federal program. And when we embrace this style of budgeting, we turn that into a self-fulfilling prophecy. And
again, I think I'm fairly certain Reagan said that in relation to like the existence of Social Security.
Indeed,
which should tell you something.
Enduring stain on the fiscal health of our nation.
Oh, you mean Donald Trump's raising of the national debt by what, $8 trillion?
This thing's apparently going to March 1, March 8. No demand on border. No demand to defang the weaponization of our government. And
yeah, the problem is no one knows what the fuck you're talking about. And it's like saying we need to work on a family budget and include in the budget killing the boogeyman in my closet before we're allowed to go shopping for groceries. Fuck are you talking about? There's a boogeyman in my closet, and until we kill it, we're not allowed to go get groceries. Well, we got to eat, though. Well, then kill the fucking boogeyman. Where is he? He's in the closet. I looked in your closet. There's nothing in there. That's because you can't see him. Because you're with him. You're on his side. Oh, boy.
Sure cuts off of the Kevin McCarthy deal Kevin McCarthy made this terrible deal with Biden, and then he had $50 billion in side deals. Johnson claws back $20 billion of that, but it's not sufficient. It's not enough. It's not what the House of Representatives should be doing. We have a slim majority.
I think you should probably quit then.
But we should take it out for a spin every once in a while.
You did take it out for a spin, fuckhead. And you know what you did? You dethroned your speaker, for fuck's sake. That's all you could get. The only thing you can ever do with the slim majority that you have, that you literally have control over, is simply fucking up the organizational structure of your party in the majority. That's it. You can't pass anything you fucking want when you have that small a majority. It's not going to happen. You don't have the Senate and you don't have the presidency. Not going to fucking happen. Take it for a fucking spin all you want to. The only thing you can affect, and they've done it already, is to screw with your own leadership. And I got news for you. None of us give a fuck. I don't give a shit which maggot is running that ridiculous, pathetic excuse for a party, and neither does anybody in my audience. But what we do care about is our country functioning, because there are real threats in the world and real challenges that need to be met. By the way, neither of which this asshole gives a shit about. This just a fucking leg wrestling, power play.
As my friend and colleague Chip Roy likes to say.
Why don't you make up your own fucking phrases, by the way? Why are you always borrowing from everybody else? Reagan says this. Chip Roy says that. Why don't... The thing that bugs me about Matt Gaetz is that he's a pedophile. No, it's that he's unoriginal.
So we
fail
the test.
Well, sure. Yeah, agreed. Look at that. We're in agreement again. See, bipartisan's possible.
As a Republican House of fighting in this moment.
What do you mean? You only succeed when you're punching yourself in the face?
We punt. I'll be voting no. And then in March, we have to continue to try to break the fever. We have to change the paradigm. We cannot align all of this where at the end we're stuck with some massive amount of spending, an open border, and oh, by the way, another $50 billion for Ukraine or some other foreign country.
Some other foreign country. You mean Israel? Okay. Secondly, you give a fuck. It's weird that he and Marjorie Taylor Greene, more than almost anybody else, are dug in against Ukraine. This is they are oddly attached to how much money goes over there and how they have to stop it, to the point where they will, including, him and Chip Roy and MTG and any of those fuckers, they're all going to vote against the border bill because it will be paired with Ukraine funding. They care more about Vladimir Putin expanding his border than protecting ours. It's a weird hill to die on. That's it. That's the whole fucking thing. It's a minute 43 seconds because he had to go vote, I suppose. Now, hit that like, hit that subscribe. Come on now. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. We can do it. Just me and you. Okay, now, we're not going to do all of this because I don't want to, I'm over my fucking Glenn Beck quota these days, but this motherfucker has started he had this down for a little while and then he put it back up and he's called American Hostages 140 Days and Counting or something. These are the fucking Jan 6ers who are in there. And the irony is that I don't know why, I don't know. First of all, why only 104 days? Yeah. Plus a bunch of them have been busted and put in and then released and then had other stuff. So I don't even know what the standard is on this fucking thing. It's just weird. But this is kind of a good example, again, of a talking point. That's all you need. I know. Watch. Biden created a new secret court to spy on Americans. That's pretty definitive, don't you think? Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Some of you are thinking, why, there is no way that headline matches up with the story that this motherfucker is going to tell. And he certainly can't be just falling into a pit of consistently lying in the lamest possible sense. Or could he? Check this out. Okay, and by the way, there's a little explainer under here that just when you thought the news couldn't get any crazier, Glenn reads a report from Politico on a new secret surveillance court that Biden's attorney general recently staffed, including a panel of judges, former AG Eric Holder of all people. But the story gets more insane. At first, the Data Protection Review Court appears to be related to the lucrative transatlantic data trade between companies. But then, Politico starts mentioning intelligence agencies, surveillance practices, and visas being denied. Plus, apparently the court's location is secret, its decisions are kept secret, and plaintiffs aren't even allowed to go to the court. Is this an admission of an international public-private partnership to spy on Americans via European agencies, and vice versa? And vice versa. And vice versa. Just whatever I said, just invert it. Motherfucker. Okay, so let's see if he's got this right.
This comes from Politico today. In a deal to let companies, and I'd like you to stop me when you don't understand something or you think you can explain it, Stu. Okay?
Okay, say this is American hostages in Gaza, 104 days.
Hey, okay.
I'd like to, by the way, well, we'll leave this alone because he gives a fuck. But he's going to read a story to Stu, which means not only is Stu not reading the story himself, but he's getting it filtered through the porous cheese brain of Glenn Beck.
All right. So this one's a wild one. Mm-hmm. In a deal to let companies keep trading transatlantic data, the White House built an opaque new forum that could affect national security and privacy rights without any paper trail.
There's a lot of questions in that paragraph, but usually the opening one's setting you up for the explanation. So perhaps I should wait a second.
At an undetermined date, in an undisclosed location, the Biden administration began operating a secretive new court to protect Europeans' privacy rights under U.S. law. Known officially as the...
Now, Stu is starting to look a little sideways because he's getting the idea that, A, Glenn is skipping around, but also starting to go, this doesn't sound as bad as I think it is. Or it might just sound like the laws and rules are different in another country than they are here and might interfere with commerce. And then they get into the paranoia.
Data Protection Review Court. It was authorized in an October 2022 executive order to fix a collision of European and American law that had been blocking the lucrative flow of consumer data between American and European companies for 3 years.
Okay, lucrative flow of data. Now, from that sentence, you would gather that it's the flow of data, the movement of that data back and forth, wherein lies the lucrative part, where you would get someone is making money. It's like there's a toll booth along the way of this movement of data, and somebody is making money off of either buying and selling that data or the transport of that data or both, right? That's where okay, here we go.
Now, this is because Europe has just put in a very strong privacy law.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And they're enforcing those things. Well, we have a problem exchanging data now because of their privacy laws. The court's 8...
Why would that be? Oh, because we're not talking about exchanging data like selling and buying. We're talking about storage. That when Europeans are on Facebook, the stuff that they put on Facebook is stored on servers in the United States. And the fact that they have those accounts and the like are sort of crucial to the business model of Facebook and other sites. Or if they use Amazon, for example, even overseas, the primary data center is there. So all the information, your credit card and all that kind of stuff are stored on US ones. And to keep from having to set up data centers in every fucking country, they have to have this kind of exchange rule. And the rules about them are, about social media versus commerce are very different. And each country in the EU has a slightly different variant, but the EU struck this big singular one. And it's really about storage. It's going to be stored. Where's it going to be stored? If it's stored in the United States, then, there has to be the same rules about privacy online. That's
judges. 8 judges were named last November.
By the way, this is all window dressing. This whole court is window dressing. It is just to let the EU off the hook for the storage issue.
Including, Attorney General Eric Holder. He's trustworthy.
Oh, good.
Its existence has allowed companies to resume the lucrative transatlantic data trade with the blessing of EU officials.
Okay, so they saw the executive order and the creation of it, and they're cool with it, and it fits the law.
What is the lucrative transatlantic data trade?
Yeah,
explain it. Explain it to us.
No, they say that it's companies, but then they
say that it's companies. Is that what they say? They say that it's companies. So governments don't make money off of stuff. It's only lucrative if it's a company, or this is just stupid. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Just listen to the whole story. I mean, they say that's companies trading data, or like, for instance, Facebook having servers here.
Right. That's what this is about.
With European data on their servers.
Right. It's that simple.
Okay.
So you could argue maybe that this needs to be sorted out because there's nothing nefarious going on here, right? It's just
why the secrecy?
Very
because it's about their privacy. So you can't have you can't sift through people's pictures and their private documents and their private information. It's the same reason you have a special master in a court. Never mind. Like they're going to fucking...
It's strange. Also, did we have we cover the news every day. Did we have a new bill that created this court?
No.
Was there a new discussion? What was the debate? I don't remember the Senate.
Order. A dictate.
A dictate from... It can create new courts?
New courts. Now, the next sentence...
By the way, I understand. You're like, you ever like check your paranoia boner and you're like, nope, still nothing. It's just not doing it for me the way it used to. You know how Glenn feels.
Because you understand clearly what we're talking about, right?
You don't understand clearly what you're talking about.
The next sentence of this article is, the details get blurry after that.
Okay, so what we just had was
That's
the
crystal clear.
focus part.
Yes. Okay, it's going to get a little blurry now.
Okay.
The court's location is a secret. The Department of Justice will not say if it has taken a case yet.
Why would you...
First of all, why would they say they've taken a case if it's a secret court?
Hide the location of a court that is...
Because it's not a physical courtroom. It's a digital space. It's dealing with digital stuff. They're reviewing it separately on if anybody brings a lawsuit about privacy, this is where it will go through. It just hasn't happened yet because nobody gives a fuck. Nobody in Europe gives a goddamn that their Facebook pictures are stored on servers in Arizona.
Overseeing the data transfers. What on earth? Why would that need to be a secretive location?
No idea.
It doesn't have to be secret. It just isn't a physical space. It's done remotely. That's why there's no single room. I'm sure they'll meet in a fucking conference room about shit if they ever have to.
Though the court has a clear mandate ensuring Europeans their privacy rights under U.S. law, its decisions will also be kept a secret from both the EU residents petitioning the court and the federal agencies tasked with following the law.
Wait.
Right. And the reason is because if they argue yes or no, that's that. Not why, not how, not what their standards are. Basically, they'll just go, okay, well then, fuck you. You can't have a Facebook. Facebook will have to drop your account if that's your problem with it. Because we can't stop it. It's digital. There's no way to track the back and forth of which server your shit is on at any given point. Fuck, the way bits work, half the time your files are on multiple servers held together loosely by bit connections.
So someone in the EU comes to the American court that...
Oh, we're going to get to the actual article in a second.
The secret court.
That they don't know where the location is.
Right.
Or
I don't know how to contact.
They don't go there and stand in front of it. Because it's done. It's like writing a letter to customer service or sending an email.
Don't know anything.
So when that happens, which I would assume would be very infrequently, but when they do, they go through some sort of case and then they don't get to know the result of the case?
Well, it's not only that. Plaintiffs are also not allowed to appear in person and are represented.
Well, how could they? They don't know where it is.
Correct. And are represented by a special advocate appointed by the U.S. Attorney General.
Okay, so
none of them are American citizens.
Hey, I've got a problem with
none of them are American citizens.
my data, and I go to this court that I don't know where it is,
and you can't actually go.
I
to
can't
the court.
actually. I'm not physically go. I just like
and by the way, these assholes, just so you know what they're arguing for, they're arguing that foreign citizens that sue the United States under privacy laws because Facebook stores their shit on a server in the United States instead of the EU, and they were engaged in child sex trafficking or violent acts or whatever, and they serve a warrant for that information on the servers of Facebook because it was a first Facebook account, and those people are saying, you don't have the right to access my account shit where I was selling a child because it shouldn't have been stored on the servers inside the United States, and you wouldn't have had access to it if it was stored in fucking Belgium or Russia on a Facebook server or someplace to make them buy server space in countries that are just fucking, that have no extradition or that won't participate in international sex and drug trafficking, law enforcement activities. That's what this is about. So that those people can go, you don't have fruit of the poison tree. You don't have the right to the information on the crime I committed because the shit is stored in the United States and it shouldn't have been.
I contact them.
These people are arguing on behalf of sex traffickers, just for the record, and drug traffickers and bomb, like arms salesmen and that kind of shit, arms dealers.
Create a case, and they assign an advocate for me to argue the case, but
when you're not even a U.S. citizen, isn't that nice? We do assign an advocate for you that will actually adjudicate the fucking thing.
Can't know where it is, when it's going on.
And as a U.S. citizen, you have an entire court system to deal with this. You already have laws in place. You already have protections in place about whether or not they have the Fourth Amendment being primary, that they can't, unlawful search and seizure that protects you. But there are going to be pushes back and forth between, I was expecting more privacy to hide my nefarious activities in Europe, and you don't have those protections for me in the United States, where I was, a participant in a crime, and therefore you don't have the right to bring those to the fucking International Criminal Court or wherever the fuck this is, wherever Interpol is dragging my dumb ass.
And what the outcome is?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yes. Mm-hmm. This is just to restore some trust.
Oh, good.
Critics worry that it'll tie the hands of intelligence agencies with an unusual power. It can make binding.
Now, this is the part where you could see Stu is getting confused because he was on. This is where there's moments where you're like, I thought I was on the right side of this, and then Glenn kept talking.
Decisions on surveillance practices with federal agencies, which won't be able to challenge those decisions. Now,
so internal U.S. intelligence agencies will not be able to challenge the privacy rulings of this court, nor will they have access, and this is one of the reasons why it might be secret, because even the FBI and the CIA and Homeland Security and all these folks will have to operate through a court in their relation to information that is from a foreign country that is stored in the United States and the privacy laws back and forth. And they have to, otherwise, the other option, of course, is to, I suppose, move all the servers for these companies into other countries and let them make that money, and which is enormous and all that.
I thought this was about corporate data transfers.
Yeah, what does this have to do with intelligence agencies?
Because people use Facebook and WhatsApp and all this shit to fucking...
There's some clarity on how that's going to operate. I think you could expect the intelligence community to be nervous about what it might mean, especially since it's not even clear what its caseload is going to look like.
Because they can't know. Because how many international drug and sex traffickers are going to bring a lawsuit based on the European privacy rules about data that got them busted, that's stored on a server in the United States, which is a participant in the International Criminal Court and or Interpol, and fights against international drug and sex and arms trafficking.
For the European citizens, it's supposed to help. The picture is just as murky. Private advocates argue that it will be nearly impossible for European residents to bring cases, given that they will have to know that they're being surveilled to file a complaint.
Right.
Quote, I don't think anyone sitting around in Spain is unhappy about his visa being denied and is going to think that it could be based on data transfers to the U.S. and go through this process.
Wait a minute. I thought we were talking about corporations trading data. What would that have to do with a visa being denied from the government?
It's weird, huh?
It feels like, and you tell me if I'm wrong here.
Feels like they're trying to stop terrorists from getting into the country, and these motherfuckers think that no one should be allowed to cross the southern border, period, because they're all fucking terrorists.
But it feels like what's actually happening is that companies, let's say in the United States, are capturing data, and then EU governments are buying the data from the companies in the United States. Or the opposite, right? Where
it's illegal for us to spy on Europeans.
Right.
Or, on Americans. And it's illegal for them to spy on Europeans. So we spy on the Europeans. They spy on the Americans.
And it goes through companies that are just in a international data trade, which is quote unquote lucrative.
Correct.
No. Not correct.
For the business community, however, the court has already done its first job. Its very existence allowed EU regulators to finally bless the resumption of the cross-border data transfers.
Oh, good.
Now, I'm not kidding. Here's the next sentence.
Again, I don't know if this is just a shitty article, like how poorly written it is, but the fact that like these two dunderheads are trying to wrestle with the content of it and are so fucking way off. This is it's like seeds of paranoia.
What happens next?
I'm sorry I dragged some of you into this, but we've got to see it through.
Or perhaps is already happening, is far less clear.
So wait, the part before this was the clear part. I thought
no. The
two
part
parts before.
All right. Now, real quick, if I may, love you guys. Let me see if I have. Yeah, here it is. This is the article that they're talking about, right here. This guy right here. There you go. Inside Biden's secret surveillance court. In a deal to let companies keep trading transatlantic data, the White House built an opaque new forum that could affect national security and privacy rights without any public paper trail. Also, it's entirely digital. That's why there's no public data paper trail. Also, it's about the privacy of individual citizens. So what the fuck do you think they're going to do? Print out all the private documents, emails, pictures, or what have you of the citizens that are dealing, that they're dealing with in this court and store it fucking somewhere? And if you do take it and you keep it in a physical form and there's a paper trail, can't somebody see it and violate the privacy of that person if they're not legally okay, never mind. All right. The bottom part of this is the court's 8 judges. They go through this. Details get blurry after the court's location is a secret. They'll not say if it's taken a case yet or when it will. Indeed, if it will. Though the court has a clear mandate ensuring Europeans their privacy rights under U.S. law. Its decision will also be kept a secret from both EU residents petitioning the court and the federal agencies tasked with following the law. So you'll find out by what shows up in your court documents as far as what evidence can be used against you when you're busted for child sex trafficking. Until there's some clarity, and that's what this is largely about. And this is also about like terrorists trying to enter the country. If they check somebody out who's asking for a visa, there's all sorts of new like small print in visa applications that goes, we get to skim your social media, by the way, and and look at what you say on there to make sure you're not coming into the country for nefarious reasons. And people go, yep, and they check it off, even if whether they mean well or not. And so they get to look. The State Department gets to go, okay, you're not an American citizen. I'm going to give a once over. Okay, we'll stay away from the pictures as long as we don't see anything really scary in there. We'll have our AI scan the pictures for any codes, so we're not just looking at the nudes you're passing around. But if you're exchanging your favorite passages from the fucking Turner Diaries or something, it might affect whether or not you get a fucking visa, or you're selling copies of the Protocols of the Elders of Zion or some shit. I don't think anybody sitting around Spain is that is unhappy about his visa being denied is going to think that it could be based on data transfers to the U.S. and go through this process. An Austrian privacy advocate whose lawsuits ended a previous transatlantic data deal. And by the way, this is a guy who sued. And also, Austria is one of the most opaque fucking countries for businesses, especially. It's hilarious. For the business community, however, the court has already done its first job. Its very existence allowed EU regulators to finally bless the resumption of cross-border data flows last summer. Now, you'll notice cross-border data flows. That seems pretty direct, right? This is the Politico article.
"Quote unquote lucrative,"
and it's illegal for them to
the United States
go through this process.
Wait a minute, I thought
they will have to know that they're being surveilled to file a complaint,
right?
And that it's allowed the practices with federal agencies. This is just to restore some trust.
That I don't know where you are of the case.
Well, it's not only that. Plaintiffs are also not allowed to appear in
transfers. What on earth is overseeing the data transfer?
Not say if it has taken a case yet.
Why would you hide the location of a court that is overseeing the data transfers? What on earth? Why would that need to be a...
Now, do you notice the difference between them using the word data transfer versus data flows? Do you see that? Does the use of the word transfers in particular? Because I'm pretty sure he fucking misreads it.
After that,
hold on.
New courts.
Now,
the next sentence, because you understand clearly what we're talking about, right? The next sentence of this article is the details get blurry after that.
Right, okay, so that what we just had was the
crystal clear.
Focus part.
Yes. Okay, it's going to get a little blurry now.
Okay.
The court's location is a secret. The Department of idea, though the court has a clear
I got to find the place
allowed to appear in person and are represented.
Well, how could they? They don't know where it is.
Correct. And are represented by a special advocate appointed
so it's after the
by the U.S. Attorney General.
Okay, so, and what the outcome is?
Yes. It can make binding decisions. Private advocates argue that it will be nearly impossible and go through this process.
Wait a minute. I thought being wrong here. But
it's weird, huh? Is going to think that it could be based on data transfers to the U.S. and go through this process.
Wait a minute. I know. I thought we were talking about corporations trading data. What would that have to do with a visa being denied from the government?
So weird.
It's weird, huh?
So he uses the guy advocating against it from Austria uses the same transfer language. The article. Let's see if he reads this part correctly. Hold on. Because the article changes its mind about that stuff too.
It feels like, and you tell me if I'm wrong here, but let's say
on European,
right? Quote lucrative.
Correct. For the business community, however, the court has already done its first job. Its very existence allowed EU regulators to finally bless the resumption of the cross-border data transfers.
Oh, good.
Oh,
now,
look at that.
I'm not kidding.
Now,
here's the next sentence.
No. Hang on. Do you notice that he's reading it? He's reading the same article we are, and he throws the word transfer in instead of flows. It's a subtle thing, but this is, he did that on purpose. And that's because his entire business model is fucking paranoia. Oy. I just, that part hung up for me. Okay. Anyways, the point being is that, can I just, we'll speed to the end of this.
Between the U.S. and the EU alone, intelligence agencies
And this is the part where Stu thinks that he's like all of a sudden doesn't understand. He's like, I think I'm on the wrong side of this.
And in both a 2015 and 2020 ruling, a European court barred companies outright from transferring or processing EU citizens' data in the U.S., or at least until the citizens had a way to pursue their rights. So they can now take the data out. They couldn't before. But now that they've done this secret court, they can take the data out because apparently people in Europe will know when they're being surveilled, when their data has been used against them, and they'll have a secret court to go. Well, and that's their recourse. They won't know if anything's been done.
Yeah, this seems like one of those things that in 5 years, when we find out they've been doing it all the time, they will say, well, no one ever asked in court. We got that court set up.
Yeah.
And no one ever showed up.
Yeah.
It's weird. We had like no cases for 5 years. It seemed like no one had a problem with what was going on.
Or all the people that they were dealing with, where this came up at all, were the rare occasion where a child sex trafficker decided to use some obscure European privacy law to weasel their way out of being prosecuted. Now, before we finish up for the evening, I've got radio in the morning, and then I'm going to race to San Francisco tomorrow afternoon and do the show, and then fly back immediately on Sunday morning. I got a whirlwind in for the Sexy Liberal show tomorrow. If you're in the San Francisco area, you want to come down and see us, please do. That said, I know some of you hate Glenn stuff, and I will try to find another source that has this dipshittery on parade as clearly as he does, right? He literally he's so stupid and ham-handed in the handling of these talking points that it's really easy to make, because a lot of other people will try to fluff it up or cover it in shit, right? They'll try to, they're a little better at as orators or as hosts to kind of obscure what they're saying, but they're saying the exact same thing that he's saying. And ultimately, the whole purpose of this is to ride the paranoia train and milk these people that are on it for everything they have. Every time you turn around, it is some sort of thing like the government is coming for you. Even in this case, where this has nothing to do with U.S. citizens, has everything to do with foreign citizens who want visas to come into the United States. This is a fantastic example of these guys just decrying an open border and essentially wanting one. They want what would effectively be a digital open border in that regard. But mainly, they want to protect Donald Trump. They want to protect the Trumps and the NRA when they're getting Russian money, all that shit. They start getting nervous. Like, wait a minute, you can start watching sketchy foreign organizations. Well, that's at the Blaze, that's like 20% of our subscribers. What if you find out that a bunch of people who watch our shit are actually, trying to negotiate their way into the country to do some awful, and we've been partly our message is created by audience capture from a group of effectively propagandists or terrorists or just malign actors from other countries that are trying to undermine the integrity of our society, which they are. I mean, the Russia and the NRA is one of the greatest examples of that, because Russia pays the NRA all during, for like I think it started like the second year of Obama all the way through Trump, until they started to fall under the weight of their own bullshit, and too many people and sanctions were, there was too much attention being paid to Russian money being shifted around. But you ever notice how the NRA would show up in a town right after a kid was killed? Right after there was a school shooting, right after a church shooting, they would have like a gun show specifically sponsored by the NRA, and they'd have speakers and all that kind of stuff. Do you think the average gun owner, genuinely, the average gun owner would think that up, would think that's necessary or a good idea? But the money they were getting especially from these, like from Maria Butina and all these motherfuckers, was predicated on the idea you do that, you make sure you advocate, and they, you know, through pushing the most extreme people in the party and giving them more money and lifting them up, and so therefore shifting the entire organization as far right as it can possibly go. And making sure, like, look, the money is predicated essentially on you better fucking bring this fight in the most awkward, uncomfortable, bullshit way to kind of, again, cause effectively chaos in the country. Because the Russians don't give a fuck about American gun rights. And if we were ever under the rule of Vladimir Putin, I'm sorry to tell you, maggots, but you would have no gun rights. The idea that you want the same kind of rights that a Russian would have, or you think they're advocating for those kind of rights in their country, you're fucking nuts. If you buy 10 bullets and you go hunting and you fire, you better come back with, if you fire 2 shots, you better come back with 2 shell casings and 8 bullets. Otherwise, you're in deep shit. And the idea that those people are having groups of the NRA to come over and then they're using them as a conduit to pay these Republicans and to help get them elected, and especially the ones that are chaos agents across the country, or like fucking shoot a fucking Prius with a sniper rifle or some nonsense and blow it up, which is, again, like, I don't know why you would have an electric car blow up like it's full of fucking gasoline. But anyways, I suppose it's an explosive bullet. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But the point is, the NRA, Russian money through the NRA to like right-wing spoilers who not only fuck up our electoral system and our democracy and all this stuff, but totally fucked the Republican Party. Right? So, and none of them saw it coming. And they're not going to, because you can see how fucking stupid Glenn and Stu are and their ilk. And you know, and maybe, you know, in all fairness, maybe they're not stupid. Maybe they simply know what side of the bread the butter is on. And in this particular case, Glenn Beck is aware, like everybody else, of like international support for religious communities and Christian organizations in the United States that are actually a front for right-wingers, and they flood money in, and they only go to churches or people who speak on behalf of those churches that will advocate for the most like extreme right-wing agendas to destabilize, you know, cultural issues and cause interpersonal fights amongst Americans, because that's the goal. The goal is not the NRA creates a better situation for those who love the Second Amendment. No, it's to get the most radical, idiotic fuckos in charge of being the spokesperson for or showing up at these events or even organizing these events right after somebody, like a bunch of kids, have been killed. And therefore, what's the reaction from everybody else who doesn't like guns and stuff? Instead of it, you know, everything's a slippery slope. You know, we got to shut these fuckers down. We are going to take your guns. And then now we're fighting about that when that's not even going to solve the problem. And it never was the intent. The whole point is to get both sides fighting back and forth over this thing. And that's what this is. That's a great example of why, well, that's precisely why Glenn Beck and Stu are nervous about the idea that maybe, just maybe, the intelligence services in the U.S. government are kind of paying attention to the exchange between, you know, European criminals and oligarchs and who they might be communicating with and sending money to in the United States, especially when those people are coming over here and ending up pretending to be a Rothschild or advocating for gun rights that they don't even have in their own fucking country. Yes, the Tea Party model. It's exactly that. So I just wanted to like put that on everybody's radar because it's a dumb rubber mallet version of this, but that's where their paranoia comes from. And increasingly, one of the biggest problems the Republicans have in the election cycle coming up is that money's gone. The NRA money that was flowing into Republican coffers, never mind the money that Trump is running off with. The money that Republicans are going to have to buy ads and do all that shit, so much of it has evaporated in the last 7 years, and especially in the last 3 because of sanctions. Oh, Richard's live? Well, then I'll cut off right now. Army Major's over there. I'm going to send you guys over there. That's fantastic. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. I'll see you guys in the morning for HAL Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. And then immediately after the show, I'll race to the airport. Wish me luck.